So good afternoon to everyone that is, in Europe, or that is in the afternoon. Good morning to those that are connected from Latin America and Americas, and yeah, good evening to all others. I'm Camillo, the Camillis. I hope you can hear me very well. Apologies, I'm just a bit tan. I was not on the beach, even if I was in contract break, but I was enjoying actual farming. So I did much use of tractor, and that's the result. So the LEAP. LEAP stands for Livestock Environmental Assessment and Performance Partnership. So I was requested to give you an overview about this initiative because you might not be familiar with, and also to report some progress. So what is LEAP? First of all, LEAP is a multi-stakeholder initiative that is committed to improve the environmental performance of livestock system while ensuring its economic and social viability. It leads a coordinated global initiative to implement coherent climate action across the sector and accelerate development of sustainable livestock systems. The governance, basically LEAP relies on multi-layer governance. We have an executive board that is composed of governments, private sector, NGOs, civil society, plus we have a number of observers, among which I would like to recall other UN agencies and other multi-stakeholder initiatives, action network of the global agenda, and I'm really happy to contribute to the success of GASL. It's an initiative that is actually hosted by FAO. So the secretariat is in Rome and supports this partnership. The work is actually mostly coming from technical advisory group when it comes guidelines development, and we are basically FAO member countries. I mentioned international organization, private sector, national agencies, NGOs, civil society movements, research, and academia. Everyone participates in LEAP on equal footing, and basically decisions are made on consensus basis. So while LEAP tackles, let's say, the environmental pillar of sustainability. So you are all familiar with the livestock long shed of report, and there are many other reports and methods that were developed over the past years. So few partners basically met and they said, okay, maybe we should build common ground on how to assess the environmental impact of livestock systems. So what we do actually is working on this methodology development. So that's building on the international standards, like just to mention ISO, but also agreements that are in place, like IPCC and so forth. LEAP provides guidance on how to assess environmental performance. Also, LEAP is focusing on the road testing and application of this guidance document, with the objective of sharing information for environmental improvement, and also is committed to the SDGs. So that's basically through the development of tools, we are able to generate knowledge that eventually will lead to impact on positive impact on society, especially when it comes to the environmental pillar. So these are some of the principles that we work with. I don't want to spend much time, but I would like to remind that we want to be global. And if you think to climate change is a global threat, but then we need to act local. And we also work in an inclusive manner, so everyone is welcome. And we rely on a scientific approach. So if you are interested to learn more about LEAP, I would suggest to go to the LEAP website. And I would like to share the kudos to my colleagues that actually work on day-to-day basis on communication and technical aspects. LEAP focuses on few thematic areas. So we have focus area on soil carbon. So that we work also on solution, climate change, nutrient cycles and associated impacts, water productivity and water footprint, feed additives, and climate change. It's a science-based approach, the one adopted by LEAP, and it's also looking to the life cycle of the livestock systems, which means basically looking to the food supply chain from the pre-production of basically what is used for feeds. For example, I just mentioned the additives, whereas there is a use of the additives. Then there is the farming stage, the processing stage, and basically the guidelines set the boundaries to that stage. And we believe that actually the environmental improvement can be made without shifting the burden from a life cycle stage to another, from a geographical area to another, and from an environmental impact compartment to another. That's why we adopted this multi-criteria approach. As you can see, the guidance development process is quite articulated. We have formation of these groups of experts coming from different schools of thought, coming from different geographical area, and coming with also different backgrounds that meet and come to development of the guidance. Then we have a stepwise review process composed of peer review, public review, and also internal review by Secretariat and our members. And finally, we have what we call the raw testing and application that then leads to a continuous improvement of the guidelines. So in the phase 1 and 2 of the program, which stretched from 2012 to 2018, we focused much on the development of this backbone of the methodology. And in Deep 3, we were mostly focusing on the raw testing, on the application, and on the fine-tuning of the guidelines. So who are the intended users? So producers and processors, we want this guidance to be relevant, to take action at producer and processor level, but also stakeholders that are interested to make a major step towards environmental sustainability. Then they are interested to work with our guidelines and policy makers as well, so that decision can be made on basically evidence-based. So I mentioned these 3 phases of LEAP. I don't repeat myself. I just would like to mention that basically we are refining now the guidelines based on the feedback that was provided by our partners so far, but also we are working on automation. A few guidelines were developed on these areas, on feed, small and large ruminants, biodiversity, poultry, pigs, feed. And we had developed a feed database that actually now is phased out, since there is also the GFLI that was developed. In LEAP2, actually, we expanded the scope of the guidelines because we were not happy to just focus on greenhouse gases, and we adopted a multi-criteria approach. And that's why we've worked on biodiversity, nutrients flows, water footprinting, soil carbon storage, but also on solutions like the feed additives, possible solutions. What we currently have on our plate, and we are at the end of the phase 3, is to continue the road testing of the guidelines. And I would like to thank all of our partners that have submitted feedback so far, or they are committed to do so in the coming weeks. And we are fine-tuning actually the guidelines on the greenhouse gases. We know that methane, CH4, is a gas that's in climate arena deserves dedicated attention. And because it behaves differently on the atmosphere, so we formed a working group, a technical advisory group, to review sources of methane and associated mitigation options, and also to review climate change metrics for methane, because depending on the different metrics, then we can have different results. And yeah, basically some of our partners were unhappy to see how the performance of the livestock sector is compared to other sectors. But also we want to show how specific mitigation options can actually be a gain for climate. So there is much potential in the livestock sector for doing climate action. We are working on dissemination of the guidelines. So there will be a catalog of application. There was a seminar that was held earlier on this year, and you can go to the LEAP website to check basically all the video recordings showcasing all the presentation, all the guidelines that were developed so far. And we are working much on communication, outreach, and linking to regional and national networks, so that we are able to continuously improve these guidelines, but also, and above all, to create positive impact for resource use efficiency and environmental improvement. I just mentioned this road testing and application. I would like to invite those that haven't yet submitted their thoughts, and there is a form on the LEAP website, and you can contact me anytime. And we want to hear the opinion of the users using the approaches in the LEAP guidelines. So you have a number of environmental assessment approaches. You have life cycle assessments, but also you have nutrients use efficiency, water productivity, pressure state response, and so forth. So depending on the approach you work with, you may end up with different suggestions, and we want to hear what the suggestions from the practitioners are, from research and the experts in the area, so that through LEAP and the global agenda, we can mainstream better practices. I would like to thank you, everyone, for the attention, and I'm here. Should be any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Camillo. So far, I don't see questions in the chat, but if someone has questions, please ask it or raise your hand on Zoom.
Question to Camillo?
Of course.
Hi, my name is Simon Leger. I'm a PhD student in France. I was wondering if you had examples of some of the most some of the road testing projects that LEAP was trying to put forward. How exactly do you road test these elements?
Yeah, we have been collecting as secretariat feedback from our partners, and also we worked in-house on a few cases. So let's say there were areas where we had to improve coherence in methodology between the different documents, and basically we focus on those areas when it comes to secretariat. So through sensitivity analysis, you can figure out basically how the results change. And then we actually had cases from, I guess you are familiar with LIM. So the nutrients guidelines were actually extensively used for a global assessment of nutrients flows. And also there are a number of other applications now coming out. And our partners also submitted many of their cases. I guess you might be familiar with the project of IDEL in France. You talk from France. And there is a calculator that is associated to mitigation options, which is based on the LEAP guidelines. And I think that hundreds of farms are now being assessed using the LEAP guidelines in that area, and many more cases. So we have been receiving these forms, and there will be a catalog of applications that will showcase these different stories, basically how the LEAP guidelines have been used. So there are many, and they stretch from farm level to global level.
Thank you.
I have a question for Camillo. This is Peter Valentine here, Camillo. To what extent could this approach be used on other, you've been doing it for environment, if you would, other areas of sustainable livestock where such guidelines, I mean, this is quite a heavy, a very kind of, it's quite a robust process. I mean, is this something you could do in other areas? I don't know, nutrition or livelihood or gender. I mean, you've done it for the environment. How replicable is it for other topics? This approach of guidelines and methodology.
Well, I think that LEAP now is being seen as a sort of model by FAO, so that other initiatives are popping up, somehow replicating the governance that we have. But our domain is on environmental assessment, and we wanted to keep our focus on that. But I think it can be replicated. I'm aware of other initiatives that now are also focusing on nutrition and environmental impacts, but they don't look only into livestock. All foods are under the watch.
Okay, so we got Julian there. Ernesto, if you want to go fast and ask your question, otherwise we have Julian who's connecting, so he will give his presentation.
No, it's just to complement the question from Peter and the answer from Camilo. It is really funny because Camilo and LEAP and all the group are really working towards the environmental indicators, and now we ask them for other indicators like social and economic ones. We in the Livestock for Social Development, we are working in social indicators, and many people are always asking us, are you going to measure environmental indicators? What does it mean? It means that we need to work parallel and we need somehow have a cross lines in the future, because we will need, because it is really funny. We now are implementing pilots in several countries, measuring social impact. And all the questions are you also measuring environmental indicators? Over. Thank you.
Thank you.